tonight. The grim projections on the spread of COVID-19.
You'll continue to see growth in cases. You'll see the higher levels of ICU use probably hit. You'll see the mortality continue to climb in long-term care homes.
Modeling shows Ontario could hit 6,500 new daily cases by mid-December without further action, as the province records another record high for the third day in a row. Plus,
he was hit as these men were attempting to carry out their plan to murder someone.
An innocent 12-year-old boy walking with his mother dies after being caught in gunfire. The dramatic takedown of the men who allegedly fired and the calls from the community. And
there's a lot of people in this building that really needed the help.
Some seniors in this building are worried about food security after the program that delivers the meals is coming to an end. I'm Angelina King in Regent Park. I'll have more on that and the effort to keep it going. That's coming up.
Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. 2 people have been injured in 2 separate shootings tonight. We'll start in Thornhill, where one man is fighting for his life after a shooting at a plaza. It happened just after 6:30 in the area of Steeles Avenue West and Yonge Street. York police say the victim was found with multiple gunshot wounds and rushed to hospital. No suspect information has been released. Police are appealing for any witnesses to come forward. Further west in Etobicoke, a man was rushed to hospital with serious injuries after he was shot. It happened in the area of Kipling Avenue and Panorama Court near Finch just after 8 tonight. Police say the suspect was last seen going southbound on Kipling on foot. The victim is expected to survive. With over 1,500 new cases of COVID-19 today, Ontario has once again broken a record. This comes on the same day projections show daily cases in the province could reach more than 6,000 by mid-December. Experts say hospitalizations, long-term care cases, and deaths will continue to rise. Lorenda Redekop has the details.
It is alarming, and we want your attention on this matter.
In the worst-case scenario of the 2 models presented, cases could hit around 6,500 a day by mid-December. Cases per 100,000 people are climbing. So is the percentage of people testing positive. Experts say whichever model they use, within 2 weeks, 150 people will be in intensive care. It's a critical point when they have to cancel other surgeries. Asked what will happen without adding further restrictions.
You'll continue to see the growth, so it won't be a flat line. You'll continue to see growth in cases. You'll see the higher levels of ICU use probably hit. You'll see the mortality continue to climb in long-term care homes. I do not believe that there's a way that the cases will change without action.
The experts say Ontario could get worse than certain countries in Europe, which are currently under lockdown. The NDP is calling for a 2-week partial shutdown in the hardest-hit areas of the province.
I'm calling on the province to pay businesses to undergo a 2-week modified stage 1 circuit breaker in hotspots only in our province, to break the chains of transmission and drop the case counts in Ontario.
Already over the past 2 weeks, the increasing numbers have been hard for some people to hear. People planning for a much different Christmas season.
It's very disturbing, it's very upsetting, it's very isolating. We're trying to take advantage of every last beautiful moment before the snow and horribleness, but it's not the same. Getting virtual hugs is not the same as getting real hugs.
My family and I are actually not buying gifts this year because we don't want to go shopping. We're going to make gifts. We're going to find other ways to express, different ways to celebrate Christmas.
And for hospital workers, they're expecting the increases to continue.
The feeling is that we're only at the beginning of this now. I mean, if you look at the curves, we're on a steep spike up. And even if drastic measures are put into place, it's going to be a while before we see that. So we're really bracing ourselves for things to get much worse.
She expects there likely will be an increase in cases following Christmas, so January, possibly even into February. She says the same thing has happened after every holiday during this pandemic. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The provincial government rejected advice from its own public health agency for its new color-coded COVID-19 framework. The scoop came from a Toronto Star exclusive interview with an executive at Public Health. And as Chris Glover reports, now several scientists and doctors are speaking out.
As Toronto sits poised to become a red zone in Ontario's new COVID-19 framework, scientists are grabbing megaphones to warn they either weren't listened to or weren't consulted.
We had no consultation. We saw the framework when the public saw the framework.
Epidemiologist Ashley Toot is a member of the provincial government's modeling consensus table. She was instantly concerned when she saw Ontario's plan.
If we're responding at a point where we have that amount of COVID circulating in our communities, we are going to be in for a really tough time in terms of bringing things back under control.
It led a lot of people to wonder who Doug Ford listened to. Here's what he said last week.
This framework was developed in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, the Public Health Measures Table, local medical officers of health, and other health system experts.
In a bombshell Toronto Star interview, a member of the Public Health Measures Table, Dr. Shelley Deeks, said her advice was ignored. Her agency recommended the strictest red control level if the weekly infection rate was higher than 25 cases per 100,000 people. Instead, the province went with 100 cases per 100,000. It surprised Deeks, saying she's not in agreement with the current framework. She declined follow-up interviews, saying she stands by the reported comments.
I think it's really clear that we can't trust Mr. Ford. We can't trust the Minister of Health. We simply can't trust them. They made that very clear.
The opposition was expectedly angry, but even physicians are demanding transparency from the Premier.
No amount of spin can explain this. At his next press conference, we need the truth.
I appreciate the doc voicing her opinion.
Doug Ford said it was Ontario's Chief Medical Officer's call, Dr. David Williams.
This framework was given to us through Dr. Williams and his team, and we went forward with it. That doesn't mean, Rob, we can't change this. Nothing in this pandemic is concrete.
Few specifics, but an openness to change as Dr. Williams defended himself.
Input is always going to be taken in. We're always going to look at it. And if we have to make revisions, we would do so.
With the current threshold, only Toronto and Peel are in the red zone. But if the public health recommended threshold had been used, at least a dozen of the province's 34 health units would be in the red zone.
I think it has to be changed. I mean, at this point, I don't think it's useful.
That epidemiologist fears that economic interests were prioritized over health interests. And she says that that is both unfortunate and it's also short-sighted, because she says that if we wait, then we're going to have to put in more restrictive restrictions that are going to end up having to last longer. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Migrant farm worker Louis Gabriel Flores won a hearing today at the Provincial Labour Tribunal against Scotland Farms. That's after he was fired for speaking to the media after testing positive for COVID-19.
Intimidation, violence, abuse, and exploitation will continue as long as employers have the power to deport any worker who dares to stand up for their rights.
Advocates are using Flores' win as a way to fight for more rights for migrant workers, including giving workers immigration status that allows them to protect themselves against employers. The Ontario Labour Relations Board granted Flores $25,000 for his case. The decision comes as at least 3 different farms face outbreaks across Ontario. A 12-year-old boy who was hit by a stray bullet last weekend has died in hospital. The boy was walking with his mother near Jane and Finch when he was shot. Police say he was an innocent victim in a gang-related shooting. Today, the men accused in the shooting had their charges upgraded. Greg Ross has the details, starting with new video from the day of the shooting.
This video, posted online, shows the moment 2 men open fire on another car in an apartment building parking lot at 25 Stong Court. The targeted vehicle speeds off, the suspects close behind. 3 days later, this surveillance video shows the moment that 25-year-old Joanne Smart and 24-year-old Rashawn Chambers were arrested as they walked out of a downtown Canadian Tire. The 2 men had their charges upgraded today.
First-degree murder.
This cell phone video was taken just moments after Saturday's shooting. A crowd of people can be seen trying to help the 12-year-old boy who was hit in the neck by a stray bullet. While police don't believe the boy was the intended target, they defended their decision to charge the accused shooters with first-degree murder.
He was hit as these men were attempting to carry out their plan to murder someone.
Police say on Saturday, Smart and Chambers were waiting in the parking lot of this apartment building for their intended targets, and when they arrived, the two men opened fire. 4 people were injured in the shooting, including the 12-year-old boy. Police believe the shooting was gang-related and confirm at least one of the suspects has a connection to a previous gang-related shooting. Smart is the brother of Toronto rapper Smoke Dogg, who was shot and killed on Queen Street in 2018.
I am asking you to put down the guns, to understand that indiscriminate shooting, no matter what your circumstance is causing you to kill your own brothers and sisters.
This gun advocate making a plea to any other gang members in the area who may be involved with guns. He also called on politicians to do more to prevent this type of violence.
There has to be sufficient action. There has to be sufficient resources to address the problem.
Police have also confirmed that one of the suspects, Joanne Smart, was on parole at the time of the shooting. Police have also decided not to release the name of the 12-year-old boy at the request of his family, who are clearly going through a very difficult time right now. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
New evidence was introduced today at the trial of Alec Minassian, the man behind the 2018 Toronto van attack that killed 10 people and injured many more. A chilling text message sent the day after the Yonge Street van attack found on Minassian's phone read, "Alec, I heard what you did." A friend of Minassian sent it to him. The messages are part of an agreed statement of facts. It also includes Minassian's school assignments, resumes, and other documents found on his computer. Minassian has admitted to carrying out the deadly attack, but he's pleading not guilty. His defense is expected to center around a still unspecified mental disorder. His attempt to prove that is likely to begin on Monday, when the defense is set to start calling witnesses, starting with Minassian's father. The pandemic has not slowed down human trafficking across the country. This year, Toronto police say its human trafficking enforcement team has investigated more than 300 cases and made 34 arrests. 22 victims were associated with those arrests. I spoke with a Toronto woman who is a survivor of trafficking about a new program she started to support victims.
Project I Rise is a survivor-led, not-for-profit organization. We provide innovative skills, training, and mentorship for survivors of human trafficking, with our primary focus on educating and empowering survivors.
Tell me about some of the supports that you're able to offer survivors.
Well, I think a lot of survivors struggle once they're post-crisis in finding meaningful and sustainable employment and really trying to reintegrate back into the community. And so Project I Rise focuses on helping them, whether that's going back to school, getting the jobs and the skills training that they need for a career. So our new service is branding removal. It's free to survivors of human trafficking. Human traffickers will find many different ways to exert control over their victims, and one of those ways is to force them to brand them, mark them with a tattoo of the trafficker's name, a symbol. It can sometimes be a barcode, but this is a permanent mark on the survivor's body, and so even after they've left their trafficker, even when they're free, they still have to live with that. And what they're telling me is that by doing this, it's going to help them with their anxiety, depression, and just being able to feel free and really start that healing journey.
What's some of the messaging that you're still trying to get out in terms of education, even while we're in the pandemic?
Even though it's COVID-19, even though a lot of people are sheltered at home, trafficking still happens because traffickers are able to engage with young people online, so they're still at risk. And even maybe more at risk just because of the fact that now there's a lot more financial insecurity in homes. A lot of children, home is not even a safe place to be, and so they might lean more so on the online and social media for friends. So we do a lot of awareness, a lot of outreach, talking to parents, talking to community members about online safety for their children. It's knowing the passwords that their children have. It's having conversations with them about sex trafficking. I mean, we can't shy away from this conversation. You have to tell them, and you have to talk about it more than once. So as a survivor myself, I understand the challenges in rebuilding your life. This is why I want to create Project I Rise, to really offer those supports. I have the lived experience, I know what it's like, so I can offer a lot of the lessons learned, a lot of the things that I had to go through.
The Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking launched a hotline about a year and a half ago where people can submit tips and get information. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. To date, it's been contacted more than 2,200 times. Coming up after the break, we'll take you to Regent Park, where a food program for seniors has been put on hold due to a lack of funding, as the second wave of COVID-19 shows no sign of slowing. We'll have reaction. A program that helps feed seniors and other vulnerable people during the pandemic is coming to an end tomorrow. The Regent Park initiative is out of funding, leaving dozens of people without the hot meal they've been getting delivered 5 days a week. Now the search is on for new donors to help revive the program. Angelina King joined them on their second last day of deliveries.
For the last 3 months, this group has been busy cooking, packing, then delivering.
Have a good day.
Hot meals for seniors and other vulnerable people in Regent Park.
The food is so excellent, I'll tell you. It's better than restaurant.
A group of organizations came together to create the Senior Feeding Project, providing hot meals 5 days a week while helping to address issues made worse by the pandemic.
People are facing a lot of anxiety, depression, and COVID makes it worse even. And because of social distancing, and we are in phase 2 now, and there is limited place that they could go and get support as well. Their well-being is it's ours.
The program is running on one-time funding, which is up at the end of the week. Recipient Ilona Battis says it's sad, but worries more about the elderly and those with special needs.
They've been looking forward to this, and I've seen a lot of happier people since this has been going on.
In hopes of keeping the program going, organizers have applied for more funding and are waiting to hear back. In the meantime, the 50 people they serve here say they'll be missing out on the warm meals and the friendships they've created.
These two boys also doing very good. Everybody, you people have taken good care of our tenants.
Joseph Kasaja says it's a two-way street. He now calls his 50 clients his friends.
How was your day? Are you fine? The weather is nice today. Just those few words you speak together, it warms their hearts up and they're always happy.
He says he worries what will happen come Monday when he's expected to show up, but he's not there.
Every day before I leave home, I always think about the clients, but I know if I don't come, then that will be a bad day for them.
They hope to secure enough funding to keep the program going, at least during the winter months, especially during a holiday that may be more lonely for some.
We'll be stuck at home, and it'd be nice to have somebody bring something for Christmas.
Hopeful that something is a warm meal from a new friend. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
A few clouds and a chill in the air tonight after a cooler but sunny day in the city. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a look at the forecast. Colette, what a day to get out for a nice fall walk.
Thanks, Talia. Well, what a beautiful day. Just a nice way to ease back into conditions that are, well, closer to seasonal. In fact, today we were still a little bit on the mild side, but had all kinds of sunshine, and now things are going to change just a little bit. I'll kind of explain what's going on here. We are going to see some increasing cloudiness through the overnight hours. Not so much so for central Ontario, but more so for southwestern Ontario and some areas, especially there, where we'll get into a little bit of patchy fog. Then we'll have the risk of some scattered precipitation, yes, mostly showers due to the temperatures that we'll be seeing through the day on Friday. And looking ahead towards the weekend, it's kind of a split in terms of the forecast. A dry day with sunshine on Saturday as high pressure is moving back through, and then totally different scenario for the second half of the weekend. We're going to have a system that's not only going to be bringing in a steady rain, but a strong wind as well. So lots of things that very different in terms of what's happening this weekend. The daytime highs today, I mean, not much of a range, really, was there? Look at this. Daytime highs, I mean, these are unofficial, but other than Ottawa at 8, lots of areas we're talking about there, they're rounded off, but still right around 9 degrees right across southwestern and eastern Ontario. So this is, okay, the ridge moving away, the increasing cloudiness that I mentioned, and some of that fog back towards Sarnia, the risk towards Windsor as well. As the system moves through, it's not terribly strong. We'll see some of that moisture pulling northward. Better chance that you'll see more significant or steadier showers as we go into cottage country through the day tomorrow, but a chance for a few scattered showers through the Golden Horseshoe all the way back towards London, towards Sarnia as well. Less of a risk back towards Windsor. And then through Saturday, we get a nice clearing trend. With that, more sun comes through, and that's why I say that's, if you want to make some plans to get outside, get some exercise, do a hike, something like that, walk the dog. Saturday's your day because it'll be a messy one. The paws are going to get all nasty on Sunday when we have this next system that'll be moving in, and some of those wind gusts could be well over 70 kilometers an hour as that system is going to be moving through. So some of that rain may be going sideways. Overnight tonight, there you go with your overnight temperatures, a little bit warmer than they were last night through southwestern Ontario. Daytime highs for tomorrow with those winds coming in out of the west, 40 to 50 kilometers an hour, some of those gusts. a range tonight with our readings again tonight around the Golden Horseshoe, and then highs tomorrow. Just a 30% chance of seeing some light showers here and into some of the higher terrain, maybe a few wet flurries, but only in areas like that. There we look ahead. Saturday's high 8 degrees, much closer to seasonal, and then some really interesting things with some of those winds as we go into the beginning of next week. Some of those lake effect snows could begin, and we could see some accumulations there in the lee of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So I'll be watching that carefully for us, Talia.
Thanks for preparing us, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
After the break, the Christmas season is upon us. It may seem a little early, but you can't argue with that tree. We'll take you to the Distillery District coming up. The Christmas market may be virtual this year, but things are getting festive in the Distillery District with the annual lighting of this massive tree. The balsam fir measures roughly 40 centimeters in diameter and is adorned with over 60,000 LED lights. The tree is supplied by Forests Ontario, a nonprofit organization specializing in tree planting and forest education. And leaving you in a holiday mood, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.